Hello and a warm welcome back to the TNC Podcast. So good to have you alongside us once again. The season is nearly upon us and there is a heat wave here in the UK. So I'm sure the men next to my left, the exact thing they wanted to be doing on their Monday evening is being in a warm, hot studio talking all things Norwich. Dean, thanks so much for giving up your evening.
No worries at all.
How's things?
Good, yeah. Questionable air conditioning in this room.
Studio.
It's
I hope that people appreciate this. This is the first time that we are going to seriously sweat on camera. Like, to actually, part of the entertainment for the people watching and listening, well, not listening, but watching, is just how much we sweat. Russ Martin, the Norfolk Cafu, was known for his large amount of sweat on his big appearance, and we might top that today.
I think the last podcast we did here was with Seb Basong, and he walked up here, and I didn't think he realised that we literally filmed within your spare bedroom, and he was shocked.
Everyone was. Do you know when this is people can't see us, but around the back of the camera, there actually used to be my spare bed, and Stuart Webber took the piss out of my bed sheets. So I was like, cheers, Stuart, thanks for that, mate. Well, Seb Bass brought the heat, but we've actually got some real heat with us today.
We have. No, great to have you along, Dean. Norwich pre-season. It's been an interesting one. Limited transfer dealings. Now you've obviously got you're across everything Championship at the moment. You're once again going to be a pundit on the EFL show, which is really exciting. Have you been surprised with the, I'm going to say, lack of transfer activity at Norwich City so far this summer?
No, I would have said the big thing I was looking for is who would we lose. That was the key, because especially I look back on when I was part of the squad that got relegated, that infamous 6-0. And I know, but all I mean is the people we lost in that summer, and then the people that came in to replace. There was a stark difference, and that was a big issue for us then going into that season. We didn't start as well as we clearly could have done, even though we had a good squad. We'd lost players that had done well, reasonably well in the back end of that Premier League season, and so the key for me was looking at, would we lose anyone? Would we lose Timu? Would Todd definitely go? Max Aarons, one of the centre back. All different types of players that could have left. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, well, hang on. Pretty much no one's left. We've added a couple. I've looked at the squad and gone, I tell you what, there's some really strong Championship players that have got serious experience and have shown previously that they're too good for this league. I think it's a real positive, actually. I know supporters want signings and it's exciting, but actually to have kept the players that we have done, I think is actually a really big deal.
Is it Norwich City being able to keep hold of their main assets, or is it the fact that we can't sell them? What do you think it is? Because if you're
that is a valid point.
Let's think about Max Aarons, right?
Yeah.
He's a man who 2 summers ago was linked with Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and now he's once again going to be playing, or at time of recording anyway, going to be playing Championship football next season. Like, that surprises me. Does it you?
I suppose the only thing I would say is it's a club that's just been relegated with a team that, let's be honest, for most of the season was toilet. So it was. There was times when it was just awful to watch. The players will admit it. It wasn't great. There were some really poor performances. There were some okay performances that maybe we didn't get results from, but ultimately a lot of the performances were poor. So that in itself, unless you really stand out as a player in that team, then maybe the clubs that looked at you before would go, well, maybe there's other players that have done better in that time period, and so I wouldn't necessarily look at it as that. I wouldn't all of a sudden go, well, if no one's buying our players, it means that they're not any good. I see it as a positive that we've kept the players so far that we have, because I think it really does lend itself to a competitive squad where you've got players that feel like they're Premier League quality, and want to play in the Premier League that are fighting for a place in the Championship team. And I think that should lend itself to a competitive squad.
What do you think about the mentality though, Dino? Because I'm the original Dino, by the way. That's his new nickname.
Yes, yeah.
I've been hammering that home on social media as well. What's your opinion on the mentality though of this team though, Dino? Because obviously as a player that's been relegated, and I know that obviously some of the players that watch this, they'll find it insulting, but it's just a natural concern. And I'm sure it's not just me, I'm sure it's many supporters. I'm worried about the mentality because these boys have been knocked down twice before, much of the same team. Not only are we asking them to bounce back yet again, but the manner in which we were embarrassed in the Premier League, I fear that those players that you see as a positive that we've kept, I almost fear, will those players be able to get off the canvas again? Or do you think they will because the quality is there and I should just stop worrying?
I think the quality's there. I think you've got enough experience as well in terms of the players and professionalism within that squad. And I think, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think fans maybe don't realise just how much reality the players have. So if they're rubbish, and they have in the Premier League been, they know it and they talk to each other about it.
Yeah.
You know, whereas now in the Championship, they know they're going to be good players at that, and they'll talk about it. I don't think it's just they're not seeing it the way the supporters are seeing it. Players actually, if you were to go and sit in the changing room, then they're telling each other that they've been poor and they can be better and that sort of thing. I don't think it necessarily means that all of a sudden they're just crushed mentally.
That's what.
Albeit, I think you're right. I think it.
Because how many times does the yo-yo go down, Dino? That's my problem.
I know what you're saying, but I just think you've got good players at this level.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the key. Forget about whether they're good enough for the Premier League right now. Let's think. Well, is this squad of players and the players you've got, are they good enough for the Championship? Absolutely. Absolutely they are. And that's kind of all you've got to worry. If we were to get promoted again, then you worry about, well, can they be good enough for the Premier League and where the players sit? But right now, they're more than good enough for the Championship.
One thing I keep kind of I've watched a couple of the pre-season games and we'll get onto those shortly. One thing I keep seeing, the word identity coming up. I think it was so prevalent under Daniel Farke's reign. There was a style, there was an aura about Norwich City, particularly in the Championship, and I think we lost that in the Premier League. It feels as if Dean Smith hasn't quite stamped his authority on this squad yet. It felt at times last season he didn't quite know what his best 11 were. How are we going to play against teams? Has that concerned you at all, or do you think he's still we'll continue to see improvement under Dean Smith?
I think we'll continue to see it. I think you're right. I think if you ask me exactly what system they're going to play and maybe the players that I think might start the season, I'm still a bit not quite sure. I felt like I saw something when he played Adam Ida at a certain part of last season, and I saw a difference and a bit more physicality, and I thought that looks a little bit more like a Dean Smith side that still wants to play but can be physical and combative, and I felt like we saw that, and then he got injured and then that all went away again. So I think we'll see more support for Pukki. I think that we'll definitely see that this season in a different way that we had a Buendia, and that kind of play. I think we'll see genuinely more support, more physicality up there with him, and I think that'll be the biggest change I think we'll see from maybe a Daniel Farke team.
I'm fascinated to hear your opinion on this, Dino, coming from you. What we've seen in pre-season is actually Jordan Hugo's.
Yeah.
The big man up top, the shithouse, the personality, the character, someone that's going to rip someone's shirt off, take a booking. That's not Timu. Someone that's going to win something in the air. So I'm fascinated to hear from your angle on that. Is like, do you actually think that there's almost going to be more competition for that number one spot up top this time round, or do you still think it will 100% be Timu? There's no way that anyone breaks into that.
Well, I don't think it's 100% that it's definitely one up front. I don't. I could see two.
Yeah.
I could see two, because if Teemu Pukki plays and starts the way we know he certainly can in the Championship, then he's going to be hard to dislodge. But if you want that more physical player up there, then I could see that. I could, yeah, because you've got, you have got that fire. But you've got Adam Ido that will want to play in that style. You've got Hugill that will want to play in that style. Sargent could possibly play a bit more of that style as well in terms of. I'm just saying, show glimpses. But I know what you mean. Yeah, I like the word burly personally. When people used to call me burly.
That's a compliment.
But Teemu is an unbelievable player, and he will go down as
a legend
of the football club. There's no doubt. But he's one of the worst players I've seen at forwards at being able to win a header or get it on his chest when it's been whacked foot. He's just not that player at all.
And that's my point, Dino, is that everyone's talking about Dean Smith, the new Dean Smith, not the original Dino, the new Dean Smith playing with wingers that are going to get crosses into the box. So therefore, I'm not sure if Teemu is going to get the right supply this season.
It might just be a slightly different type of supply, to be honest, because I don't think his movement's still really good. So, whether that is from through balls or whether that is from crosses or whether that's being able to spot a knockdown, or I think he's intelligent enough to play a different way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The biggest issue for me was that when you're under pressure, especially in the Premier League, and you need to clear it, and you need that player that can relieve a bit of pressure, he just isn't. He just isn't that player at all. And you look at the Championship, and dare I say it is even stronger again in terms of how many teams will genuinely feel like they've got a chance to get promoted. It's going to be a tough physical league again. I don't think we're going to see the style that we saw under Daniel Farke. It's not going to be that style. Yeah. It is going to be different.
Chris and I, Dean, always say we're not going to get too ahead of ourselves. We're going to go into a season calm, collected, and just see what happens. And then we beat Marseille 3-0, and suddenly we're looking up and going 100 points, 100 goals.
Mate, you beat a Champions League side.
As a player going into pre-season, back in your career,
I can't wait to hear Dino on pre-season. This is going to be classic. Here we go.
What is the objective of pre-season? Is it solely fitness? Say if you go and beat a Champions League team 3-0, are you suddenly looking around and going, "Boys, hello, we're something special here," or is it nothing like that?
It depends on what they were like when you played them.
Okay.
So if you're coming up against Payet, but he looks like he's literally just strolling and getting what he needs out of it.
Yeah.
Again, the players will know realistically how much of a test they were. I'm not the person to ask about pre-season because I was awful.
He said it.
I have never even got to a level on the bleep test. I'd get to a certain level and I'd go, my back's hurting me.
Oh, really?
I never did it.
Was that old Davy Carolan? Was he on there whipping you into shape? Carolan.
Yeah. But he's loved hooks.
Because
he was, hooks could break records that hadn't been beaten, for centuries on the fitness testing. Do you know what I mean? So he'd obviously Colney that outside edge.
You would do one lap and then
not one. I forget. I might do one, but I just always thought be ready for the first. As long as I'm fit for the first game, then I might miss the odd game and take my time to get into that position. But the players are so fit.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
You delivered on a Saturday.
What's interesting though is particularly under Daniel Farke, we saw this with Wes and Russ and some of the more senior players when Farke was coming in and doing 4 training sessions a day.
Yeah.
And the more senior lads are like, we literally can't do this if we want to be good for a match day. And we saw a lot of those excluded, didn't we?
Yeah.
I hope that's different under Dean Smith. There's a bit more of a personal touch to everyone's pre-season. Have you watched much of Norwich or been sort of seeing anything of the pre-season, or have you just
I haven't watched live, if I'm honest.
No.
Well, it's not been available to watch live until Marseille.
That's true.
And then they tried charging us a tenner for it, and we went, bugger that, we'll watch it on Marseille's Twitch.
I'm just really intrigued to
I would have travelled locally if I'd have been here.
Yeah, okay.
But I've been away. I've been away and enjoying myself. Yeah.
I'm just intrigued, how much do you read into pre-season as a fan? Do you just completely write it off? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I remember, I think, certainly for Crewe, we had a pre-season, we won every single pre-season, played really well, scored loads of goals, and then lost the first 6 or something like that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's not, I don't think it's anything to cling to.
Okay.
Right, okay.
You want your players to avoid injury
Yes.
and be fit for the start of the season. That's the big aim, really.
Going back to, obviously you're going to be doing Championship punditry on ITV. Really looking forward to watching that this season. I was intrigued to hear you just say you think the Championship's stronger again. Because I must admit, I obviously didn't watch as much Championship football last season as I do when Norwich are in there. I thought it looked weak. I thought there were a lot of, particularly the playoff semi-finals with Luton. I just looked at it and went, I don't know if there's much depth. You obviously think very different.
What I mean is that there's not a great deal between most of the teams.
Right.
That's what I mean. So, like we've seen over the last few seasons, you've had teams that you thought they might do all right this season, and then they're near the bottom. Or you've got big clubs that have spent money or have got Premier League experience in their squads and are just languishing in mid-table. It's very easy to do. It's very easy to get on a run where you're not picking up the points because you've got teams that on their day can be competitive and have got decent players in their own right in that team that on their day will hurt you. But I just think it's a more condensed league, I would say, than ever before. I don't think you're going to necessarily see one team just absolutely blitz away.
Not going to be a Fulham this season then?
Not really, but even they had their moments at times where they found it difficult. But I don't know. I think it's going to be...
As a man who's been across Championship football the last few seasons, who are the biggest threats to Norwich in terms of fighting for promotion next season, do you think?
I mean, obviously, you can't discount the teams that got relegated simply because you only have to look at last season and the likes of Bournemouth and Fulham and them finding it. And because I think things have changed quite a bit since the pandemic and teams aren't losing as many players as they used to. They're just not. So again, they'll be strong. But also, I would look at teams that finished well last season that could, Luton have gone out and have recruited again because they want to kick on again. Middlesbrough will be really looking to strengthen with their squad. Sheffield United again. Again, you look at their forwards and you think they did all right and they had no one that could score goals other than Billy Sharp. West Brom under Steve Bruce, surely they're going to be competitive. There's lots of teams that, and then there's bound to be a team from League One that maybe surprises everybody. So
now that's frustrating, Chris, because I was super confident and now I've been hit with a bit of reality.
Yeah, but I like Dino's word there. He used the word condensed. So let's just hope it's all condensed. They're all condensed with shite. They're just all shite and they're all condensed. That'd be lovely. That'd be perfect, wouldn't it? Could happen.
And then there's the yellow and green cream
absolutely,
on the top.
Absolutely.
Are you getting excited now, Chris? To start the new season?
I'm getting there. I'm still...
You sound like a lot of supporters that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
Which is, it's...
How, like...
You're unsure because it's.
I just don't trust.
It's not Daniel Farker. It's not. Yeah, we're just going to go back and play that unbelievable football and just.
We've not, like, Dean. This is a new season under Dean Smith, yet this still feels like Daniel Farker's team, and we've been on this podcast before and we've likened it to a broken down car, and Dean Smith is trying all sorts to get this car kick started. He's trying to tow it. And it ain't going anywhere. But it's still that group of players. And I did expect the club to gut the team. And they haven't. And I think that's because they were that bad in the Premier League. And so I think the original Dino is right. I love calling you that. I'm going to keep you that. I think it could be one way or the other. I think we're either going to be, a group of players that's been relegated that we can't get rid of that are just like, here we go again. Yeah. It will just be the same thing when we go up. So whatever. Or we're gonna absolutely romp it, and I don't think there's anywhere in between. I still think it's over to the club. I think the ball is in the club's court to make the fans believe again. It's all in the words of the hierarchy. It's in, of course, we've signed 2 players, both of which are injured, which I'm sure we'll get Dino's opinion on in a minute. And I don't feel like we can truly get excited about that. But even then, I pledged on this podcast, Jack, at the end of last season, I ain't getting excited about another signing ever again after last summer. Billy Gilmore, particularly. I think that was the one that has made me think I just can't get excited. They need to earn the trust and belief of the fans again. Yes, we'll turn up in our numbers and we'll back the boys, but as you say, OD, I think I genuinely think that it's going to be it's going to feel quite anxious at Carrow Road until the boys can go out and batter a couple of average teams.
I must say, Dean, we signed 2 players now, Isaac Hayden and Gabriel Sara. And I'm not feeling pessimistic about Gabriel Sara, but I'm reserved for the reasons you said. He's young. He's coming to England for the first time. He's a big money signing, probably a record deal in the end. What kind of pressure will come on Sara's shoulders? You've been in that position of being a big money signing. He's expected to come in and hit the ground running. He hasn't played football since March, and he's coming up. He's not going to be speaking his native tongue. It's a whole lifestyle change. It just feels like a lot for him to hit the ground running straight away.
I think the injury is the biggest issue. Everybody, I think if you spoke to any ex-player, going into a pre-season without it and then having to try and get into a season before the start, once it's kicked off, is difficult.
Right.
It can be difficult to get into that, especially when you're trying to get back in without getting injured again, when you've got the sort of physicality of the Championship. There's not going to be any sort of waiting around, is it? And especially with the World Cup, it is going to be literally Saturday, Tuesday, so it's just going to be relentless.
Yeah.
So that is a worry, and it's a real shame, especially for Hayden. I think that's a real shame, because I thought that's a really good signing.
Yeah, didn't we all?
Exactly. But what surprised me is I was waiting for you to go way over the top, as in Nike advert, but like cropping his face on R9, in the airport.
Look, I keep getting burned. I can't keep being optimistic, OD. I can't.
I'm sure if he scores against Birmingham in that,
you know me.
I was watching the Open, and this is going to tie back to football.
I was going to say, come on, Jack.
Stick with me. Tiger Woods, he's obviously kind of back to some form of physical fitness, but they were just saying he's so, he hasn't played any tournament golf, and there's such a difference. Is that the same for footballers? You can get to a physical level, but if you're not match fit, is there a difference? Or once
it's amazing how, even though you're an elite level footballer, you have 2 weeks of not kicking a ball and go back to it, you're like rusty for a day or two.
You can't just snap. It's not like muscle memory where you just go, right, I can bend one in the top right anymore.
But it takes a couple of days. So imagine if it's 2 months, 3 months. It takes a bit of time to get back into it. That match speed. They talk about match fitness, don't they? But it's more a sharpness, I would say.
Right.
It's more an alertness. It's more a confidence in your touch and things like that. But you'd like to think, recruitment-wise, they got to get it right. It's
pressure.
Exactly.
But it feels like a gamble again, OD. Like, why have we signed injured players? Like we said last time, sign players that will hit the ground running. And I hope I get proved wrong. I hope I have to eat humble pie. But we took gambles last summer that burnt us badly in Josh Sargent and Christos Zolis, who are players with supposed latent potential. But yeah, it feels like, again, Hayden's. Why have we signed injured players, Dino? Have you got any insight or wisdom on that? Can you calm my frustration on that?
Well, I can only think that it was the right time to get them.
Because of that, it was cheaper.
Not cheaper, but just if you want them players and they're available but they're injured,
you just do it anyway.
That's what the medical team are there for, to make sure that when you have a medical that you are okay and you're going to come back fine and things like that. So you've got to trust that they know what they're doing in that sense. It's not ideal, but again, I don't think there is the pressure there, because you've kept so many of the players already.
Hey, look, we need some positivity in you. What's going on?
I know.
The thing I love about getting Dean on the podcast, Chris, is Twitter questions.
Yes.
There's an unbelievable variety.
Yes.
Have you had a glimpse at any of them? I've been reading through some of the questions and I'm going,
There's some belters.
that's punchy.
And on Instagram
I did
as
have
well.
a little look at a couple of them.
Okay, should we get into them now?
Yeah, let's do it.
We always like to start with fairly hard-hitting questions, Dean, so I hope you're ready for this. Lee Jones gets in touch and says, which Norwich City player, past or present, would you use as your phone a friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Ooh.
So I guess you're looking for someone calm, composed,
Maybe
intelligent.
Someone in your team or not a chance, anyone from your team?
Oh, it's gone blank. Remind me, you posted a picture of Peter Thorne.
Peter Thorne.
Wow.
Peter Thorne.
I've not heard that name said seriously in about a decade.
Didn't have a television.
What?
What?
Didn't have a television.
What did he do? Read books?
Read.
Yeah.
Played games, I guess.
Wow.
Board games.
Studied.
Really?
He
Didn't have a television.
Peter Thorne
Exactly.
didn't have a TV.
Exactly.
Well,
Surfed.
Where does he
Surfed. Not Yarmo, that's for sure. Beaten by
He would.
sharks.
I mean, talk about the perfect person to phone.
Wow.
Peter Thorne.
Did he have a phone?
Yes.
Okay, well that helps.
He's a Nokia
But
man.
that
isn't
that was.
He
that wasn't
stinks
a
of
phone
a
like
Nokia.
we've got.
he? He's got a big box. He's got a big box Nokia, hasn't he? Peter Thorne. Bloody Norwich.
Yeah.
Well, look, we've had some punch
Good.
exclusives on this podcast
Yeah,
over time.
good.
Peter Thorne not having a telly is
That
right
is
up there.
unbelievable, isn't it?
I wasn't
Who would you
expecting
pick? Yeah, that's kind of thrown me off.
Who
Who
would
would
I
you
pick as
pick?
not
Who was the
you?
millionaire? Well, no,
Certainly
but
not you.
I'm not a Norwich player, Jack. Come on.
Who would I pick as
Whilst
my
you
phone a
think,
friend?
let us know in the comment
Yeah.
section which former or current Norwich player would you have?
I think I'd have Christoph Zimmermann. He seems like quite a composed character.
That is a pretty safe. Peter Thorne's really thrown me off, I have to say. Really thrown me
Did
off.
he live on his own, or did he have
No,
a
no,
partner?
he had a
or-
partner,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know what?
At least he had someone to play like.
I
Fallen
think they
Rose or something.
talked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Back in the
Actually
day
quite
where you
nice.
actually
Yeah,
had
I know.
conversation.
Quite wholesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
That's
seen?
exactly what none of the players said.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire trivia. So for those that have watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, fans of the show,
Where are you going?
you will have seen the viral video of the first ever Who Wants to Be a Millionaire winner.
Oh yes.
Yeah? So he gets to the £1 million question.
Yeah.
Yeah? And he's got his phone a friend left. And he uses the lifeline. And everyone's
Yes.
like, ooh, wow, he's going to use his lifeline here. And he calls up his old man and he says, Dad, I'm about to win £1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So
So do you know what I'd do? I'd get to that point and I'd ring Craigie Shakespeare. And Craigie Shakespeare would be like, you win that, Revo. I know, that's just... sounds like a bit of a wet dream, that one, for me, actually.
Come on, let's get a question
Yeah,
from Instagram.
so
then.
right, Instagram. So this is a big one from _ Kieran Ashton _ on Instagram. He says, what's Dean's favourite player he has ever played with? We'll do, and I'll change this slightly because it is Norwich City, because you'll probably lean into West Ham here. One from West Ham, one from Norwich.
Okay. So, Huckabee for Norwich.
You have to mention him, don't you?
But
We love Hucks.
he
We love
was
Hucks.
fantastic.
He's a different grade, you know.
He was, and I actually think, obviously he was a big star, but his delivery, his quality, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Okay, and West Ham?
West Ham, I would say Craig Bellamy.
Oh,
Craig
shout.
Bellamy, little Norwich connection there as
Yeah,
well. I like that
Yeah.
one.
I knew he was good, but he surprised me actually just how technically gifted he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he was
I read his
a nightmare, but
as a person.
yeah,
Yeah.
and on the training field,
Yeah.
but unbelievable. Both feet, obviously quick, great touch, great awareness.
What's your
Very
opinion?
good player.
You know, you've said there. I want your opinion on this as well. That whole, you've said there he was a nightmare, and I'm not saying Cantwell is, but I think there's this debate. Well, I'm at least trying to put this into the room anyway. I feel like some of the best, most elite players in football have got this arrogance, this maybe sometimes naughtiness, or, you know, there's a bit of attitude about them. Like, we've seen it. So, I mean, I always mention, you know, Diego Costa, or, you know, even Mario Balotelli, right? He plays for Man City. And I just think, do you do you think that the best managers get the best out of any player regardless of their attitude, or do you think as a player you just don't want someone like that in the changing room with you?
Depends how good they are.
Is that literally it?
Of course it does, yeah. As players, you want to win matches, and if you've got somebody in your team that can do it, sometimes on their own,
you let them crack on.
Of course you do. But obviously there's also that side of it where I think if you're talking about Bellamy's different to Cantwell, I think, in what people think of Bellamy. Bellamy was a nightmare on the training field because he wanted standards right up here.
Really?
And if everybody didn't meet them every single day in every session, he would just batter them.
Really?
Yeah. He'd just verbally be on them. Young kids.
You're on the wrong side
of course I was, yeah. Of course I was. Because he wants a standard. Whereas Todd, I don't think he's very different. I can imagine Todd being quite moody and not difficult, but I just think clearly he's somebody that needs to be understood to get the best out of him. And I think the manager that does will unlock an unbelievable player. Honestly, when I went into shadow some of the coaches when I was thinking about doing my badges, and I saw Todd, I went, how is this kid not already in the first team? I was like, he's doing things that a lot of first team players I've played with over the years, they can't do that.
Yeah.
Why is he not? I thought, he was that good in what he was doing. Yeah. And we saw the glimpse of it, and he got there, and then it's just been a disappointing couple of seasons. And
I feel like
I'd just love to see him and like shake him and say, what are you doing? Get yourself together because your talent is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've just got that funny thought now, of Craig Bellamy squaring up to
Dino.
Like, you must be about 4 foot taller than him.
I put my hand on his head like that and then started swinging.
I'll put you on the spot here, Eddie. Who was the player? Let's go to that Huckabee era as soon as we've mentioned him. Who was the player in the changing room that you thought, cool, you're a bit lively, but you sort of just excused it because they were so good on the pitch? Who had a bit of attitude about them?
Not Peter Thorne.
Not Peter Thorne.
Not Peter Thorne, definitely not.
You felt like you had to be careful around Safri, as in
really
only because he would hurt you in training, not on purpose, but just he was lively in training.
Was he?
Yeah, a couple of times he nearly had sort of ding dongs because he was tough in training.
Really?
Yeah.
Youssef Safri, Moroccan all over the world. I love that.
Yeah.
What a
great
man.
Player.
What?
Really good player.
There's a bit of a mystique about Youssef, isn't he? Because he turned up at Norwich, scored a worldie, and then buggered off again. Like, what was he like as a bloke? What was he like as a bloke, Youssef Safri?
He was quiet, but he was scary.
Don't tell me you're scared of anyone, dude.
No.
Can't be scared.
But he was just. But he was so much better than I think people gave him credit for.
Yeah.
Like, he was a good player.
Yeah.
Really good player. Like if you look at when he played a lot of games for us because he was a good player, but just tough, and didn't care really.
Toughen you up.
Who you were, yeah. Because Leon McKenzie used to wind him up.
Did he?
Because he knew that he could probably get him to bite and just.
Oh really?
So he found it.
And you sometimes go into training and go, you know what? I fancy a bit of a ding dong today. Do you ever get that?
I did.
He's not got a bad bone in his bloody body.
But Leon's turning up to trainings and going, God, you know what? Fancy getting in Youssef's head today. I'd love to see him flip.
Yeah, we are childish.
Quick. We're breaking we were going to do alternate, but I've just seen one here, and we had it on the agenda, but we've not done it. I want to make sure that we do it in this episode.
Go on, then.
Outlandish predictions time. Okay, so one question is going to be who's your player of the season. The other one is who's going to be the surprise package, and the other one is who's going to be the most consistent. Okay. Jack Reeve, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Most consistent next season.
Ben Gibson.
Really? Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that.
I think he's one of the best Championship defenders.
Yeah, assured, knows what he's doing, leader, captain.
Yeah,
I agree personally. OD, most consistent next season?
The Lord.
The Mayor?
The Lord Mayor. Sorry, I didn't clear the Lord. So wow, Lord.
You think he's
Kenny
going to play?
McLean.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think he was given a slightly different role. I think he'll get double figures for goals.
Really?
Yeah. I think if you watched the end of last season, he was given a bit more license to get forward. I think he's capable of scoring a lot more goals than he.
Have you had a
has
few
done.
Lakers before you turn up today? Kenny McLean, double-figure goals.
Yeah.
I love
If
that
he
from
plays as far forward as he did towards the end of the season. Think of that run against Leeds, Ellen Road. That kind of.
Yeah, don't remind me of that Leeds game.
No, obviously, but
Good God. But
yes,
wow,
I do.
That's
I think.
exciting.
and again, another player
I've
that
written
people.
him off.
Well, most
Yeah.
Norwich. I haven't. I stand strong on that. But there's a lot of Norwich fans that haven't, and I think again, maybe like Ben Gibson, so assured in the Championship, so assured. And do you know what? I hope he does well because he's got a cracking chant, Kenny McLean, isn't he? Cracking chant. So most consistent done.
Yeah.
I'll chime in this as well, and I will say. Big Andy, most consistent, and I think he'll start every game. I'm putting it out there.
So who's getting dropped? Hanley or
I personally think Big Andy and Gibbo are.
so Hanley's
the
getting
two.
dropped.
I think so. It hurts me
Wow.
to say that, but I just think Big Andy is going to be the breakthrough and most consistent next season.
Okay.
Right, player of the season, go.
Um,
You hate doing this, and that's why I'm doing it.
Player of the season next season will be.
PLA's Malik.
I think it's going to be Pookie again. I think he's
really?
I think he's just got goals in him.
But will he get the service?
Yeah,
You're
I
saying he
think
will,
so.
player of the season?
I think
again.
I think he's a class above.
So he'll then meet Holt's record, I think, of three player of the seasons.
Yeah, a big season for Pookie again. I
Wow.
back him. I think keeping him, like we said earlier, Dean, of almost keeping some players is as good as a signing. I think keeping Pookie will be the difference between not getting promoted and the potential of it happening.
Player of the season. Is it going to be
I
someone you
think-
expect, or
I'm generally underwhelmed with player of the seasons. I'm not going to lie, but I think it could be Todd or Dowell. I think one of those two could. I think
Todd,
have a really
I'd love
good
it to be
season.
Toddy.
I
love it to be Todd.
would love Todd to
Do
prove.
you think Todd will take
Todd,
this
if he's
season by the
if he's
scruff of
right
the-
and he's on it, could easily be the Championship
Yeah.
player of the season, let alone
Yeah.
Norwich's players. Like he's capable of that.
Do you think?
I think Dowell is capable of a lot more.
Dowell-dino.
I'm waiting to see it consistently, but I think he's capable of a lot more.
Wow.
And I'm saying this in front of Dino, not to bring him up, but when Dean Ashton says Todd Cantwell could be player of the season, you listen to that, you think, do you know what? Let's have a bit of that mentality because people have written him off. I do think that will motivate Toddy as well, big time. I think Dean Smith's going to put his. I don't think he's going to pick him up by the scruff of the neck. I think he's going to actually do the opposite. I think he's going to put an arm around him and say, "I believe in you." He's done the same for Jack Grealish. Not saying that they're the same type of player, but I think that he could actually get a tune out of Toddy next season. I really hope he does. My player of the season.
Don't say PLA Malou.
I said that last time, didn't I? No, it didn't end well, did it? I still can't get Kenny McLean double figure goals. That is like living rent free in my head, actually. I think it's going to be a defender, isn't it?
Okay.
Just an assured. I don't know.
Rashica.
I'm just going to say Big Andy to everything.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll put it out there. Big Andy, player of the season. I'll put it out there.
Okay.
All in.
Good.
There you go.
From one extreme to another, Matt Gregory said he wants to throw some controversy into the room, Dean.
Oh, wow.
And we will grant his wishes.
Okay.
Matt Gregory asks, want around a bit of controversy. Dean signed a new contract and then left 3 months later. Ooh. Still bitter about it now, but loved Dino. What a talent. Gutted the career ended so soon for him and England. What was the departure at Norwich? Give us the inside track of the departure from Norwich City.
So, I wanted to be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to Norwich, because
Good enough.
Well, personally, I was, incredibly proud to play for Norwich, and the fact that they believed in me to be good enough for the Premier League and bought me and paid a record fee. But I'd spent 5 years in the Championship and League One, and I'd had enough of it. I just had,
Yeah.
you know, and so I'd had a taste all of a sudden of Premier League football and thought, I don't really want to have to play in the Champions. I feel like I'm good enough for the Premier League and I want to be in the Premier League. And so then there was lots of rumours in that summer, and but Norwich said, we didn't want to sell you, give us another give us another year, get us back hopefully in the Premier League with the rest of the squad. And I said, well, pay me more money then, basically.
Okay, fine.
You know, so they did.
Okay.
And they were happy to do that. So they gave me an improved contract.
Yeah.
And we started the season. It didn't go as well as we'd hoped. I did okay, I would say. I think I got 10 goals before Christmas, but I'd went 10 games without scoring, which was obviously a disaster for me and for the club. So I wasn't sure if a January move would be there or not, but there was interest. And then ultimately, when the bids came in, first of all, by the way, I was injured for the West Ham game. I would never ever miss a game for injury. Never.
I believe
I
you.
just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I love playing football. Why would I miss a game of football?
Good for you.
I just wouldn't do it.
Well done.
I'm not thinking, the move would still have gone through if I'd have played.
Yeah.
It would have. It wouldn't have. They're not thinking. West Ham aren't thinking, oh, we're definitely going to get to the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
So if he can't play, what's the point in having him? That wouldn't have been the case. So I was injured.
Yeah.
But Norwich said, look, we're obviously happy with the fee. They basically doubled their money in a year.
Yeah.
But we don't really want you to go. If you want to go, it's going to be you that says you want to go. You're going to have to forfeit a certain amount of money that you're owed from us because we don't want you to go. It's you that wants to go.
Interesting.
And if all those things happen, then there'll be a deal there, and that's what happened. I said that's fine. I do want to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Didn't want to leave Norwich, but I wanted to play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So I was happy to say yes. I want to be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I'll forfeit them any money that side because I do want to be in the Premier League because I was just ambitious to be there and play at the highest level.
Well, and you grafted for so long to get to that.
And the club had done okay.
Yeah.
They'd more than doubled their money in a year. So it wasn't like I was just, leaving them high and dry with no money and nothing of their investment as such. Because we are an asset, effectively. We're an investment for a football club, aren't we? So it kind of worked in all parties, but it was sad to leave because I really loved my time at Norwich, loved the players. Flem and Huckabee both said to me, why the hell would you go to West Ham? If you are going to leave, you need to leave for a top club, and if not, don't go. And were quite strong with me on it, but I just said, well, I need to be in the
Well, that was my question. Like, how much of the squad, obviously Craig and Hux knew, what was the squad reception? Like, when did they know that you were thinking about leaving, and how did that affect your relationship with the team is my first question on that point.
But again, players know what's going on, and we don't necessarily keep it secrets from players if this club's interested. You'd go in and go,
you just said it outright, did you?
So-and-so's after me.
Did you?
Well,
and did you?
And they would go, I've heard through my agent that so-and-so's after you.
Right. Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so it would, it's not a secret. It's
Fine.
not really a secret within a dressing room.
And who was after you was the second question I was
Most of the time we were training, they would go in, I wouldn't pay $1 million for you.
They were giving you shit, were they? Oh, exactly. Good. But what clubs bid for you at that time?
So West Ham were the only one that matched what Norwich would have accepted.
Right, okay. Who else was?
I think Man City were interested but didn't.
Wow.
But that was pre-money. Big money.
But I reckon you would have got to the big money bit, Dino.
You and Robinho.
There was actually, by the way, what a combo. There was a question, and I'm so sorry to have ever asked it. I think it's on Twitter, and I really want to make sure it gets asked, Dino. Someone says somewhere, so sorry.
Brilliant.
Where do you believe you would have got to if you had been hit by that horrific injury? Where do you visualise yourself having got to, considering that you'd just broken into the England team? Would you have gone on to move away from West Ham? Would you have spent your career at West Ham?
That's a really difficult question, and it's one that my kids really want to know.
Really? Yeah.
But it's hard to really know.
Of course.
Because when you finish, you get better every year that you're gone. And it's like if you're injured, you become a better player, don't you, when you're injured, because the team want you back.
Yeah.
And it's so people will now go, oh, you were like a combination of Shearer and Sheringham. I'm thinking, I wasn't quite.
Take it, OD.
No, but again, we know how good we are as players.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
and you know where your levels are. I think I'd have been an England regular.
Yeah.
I think I would have played in a club that was what we would class as a top four club. After that, I don't really know,
But that in itself is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
I agree. I thoroughly enjoyed watching you play football, Dean.
I've got a question on IG as soon as you're
Yeah.
ready on Twitter. Lungi, the next Patrick Vieira. So Jakob Sorensen obviously scored a worldie in pre-season. Absolute worldie. Jakob Sorensen, thoughts on him? Could we see a resurgence for him?
So are we saying he's definitely going to play midfield?
Well,
this season?
I mean, Benji_thrower04 is saying that.
He's saying Patrick Vieira.
He's saying Lungi's the next PV.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, well, that's what we do on the TNC podcast. We talk nonsense.
I think from watching him, I don't think he's a defender.
No way.
I mean, that's where he's played the majority of his football for us, isn't it? I'm intrigued to see how Dean Smith goes about the midfield. Now we've got Gabriel Sara and Isaac Hayden, an 8 and a 6. They were the players we needed. We've got them. You throw Kenny McLean into the mix. You throw Kieran Dowell into the mix. I don't think Sorensen plays much.
Really? You don't think he gets in?
I think he's a good player.
Interesting.
I don't think he plays too much football.
Couple more Twitter questions?
Yeah, let's get another big one from Callum. He says, which supermarket does the best meal deal?
What's a meal deal?
I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen because I was going to say it if he hadn't
What do
said
you mean,
it.
what's a meal deal?
We're terrible, aren't
Well, I can guess.
we? You're the only person that would have a meal deal.
So you go into Tesco's and you walk into the refrigerated section and you get like a sandwich, a pack of crisps and a drink for £3. That's your standard meal. What? So say you're on the road.
I've never done that.
Really?
Dino, I met Dino. We've got some news, by the way, to break in a minute. I'll get to that in a minute.
incredible.
I met Dino for a coffee to talk about the news, which we're going to break in a minute. And I said to Dino, what have you been up to today? He's like, I've been to Waitrose, done my shop. He hasn't got a clue what a meal deal is.
So you're on the road, Dean. You've had a busy day in the studio. You're on the way home. You go, God, I'm peckish. You're passing Tesco, let's say.
He reeks of
What do you buy? What does a
He's
Dean
in Burger King. He's not in Tesco's,
Hey.
is he?
shape?
I'm a changed man.
Are you?
Maybe when I was younger.
That's when he was playing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, well, Dean can't answer.
No.
I would be more likely to make make at home
Oh, good. Okay.
and put
Well,
foil
well
on it.
done.
Respect that.
Yeah,
do
good.
that.
A little
Not
Dino
that often.
packed lunch.
But
I bet you do a cracking packed lunch.
I do.
Yeah, do you? Yeah. Sandwich, crisps,
Dino's
snack, bit of
packed
fruit.
Cheese string.
Oh,
Cheese string.
Derry Dunkers.
Really? I didn't expect you to be a cheese string, man.
Love
Wow.
that. I really respect that. I like a packed lunch.
Do you like a pepperoni? Any interest?
Yeah.
No.
No? Yeah, I think
No.
they're weird.
I like pepperoni.
My wife, Becky, she loves a pepperoni. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Euphemism.
Let's move on.
Any more questions on there?
Oh, probably, yeah, but I'm giving you some Twitters. Come
Okay,
on.
fine. Do you want to speak about our news?
Oh, yeah,
Shame.
let's do that.
Yeah.
So,
This season upcoming.
breaking news, which is why the original Dino is here. We are delighted to announce that
Okay, you say. Go on.
You say.
OD is joining the TNC team
Oh, that's exciting.
on a season-long loan deal.
Who
And
will it-
he is going to be providing us with some exclusive Talk Norwich City content. And it's going to be called The Warm-Up.
Nice.
And Dino is going to be taking you through his thoughts and feelings ahead of the game. A bit of chat about the opposition with his vast championship knowledge. A bit about his feelings about Norwich City. He's going to maybe annoy people if he thinks that Kenny McLean's going to score double figures. But there you go. That's the news. So welcome to the team,
Thank
Maggie.
you.
Welcome to the
Are you
team.
intrigued it's a loan deal?
Yeah,
You're not convinced.
we need to
You're
make
not
sure.
convinced that Dean's talent's enough to make it permanent.
We know, look, after what he said about pre-season. I just think we need to test the waters a little bit.
No, really.
To be
looking
fair,
forward to it.
he did sort of roll his eyes at the transfer fee. I said we could strike a loan deal if you prefer.
I mean, I'm struggling to put food on the table because all my money's going to.
Well, you know
wages.
Well, you know what he said about his Norwich contract. Well, there you go.
He's probably on the phone to the pink and going, "Look, lads, can you up my fee?"
On a serious note, I'm buzzing, and it's a really lovely moment because I remember when we first started this channel and we were growing it. And I mean, to be fair, we are practically still in a bedroom now, aren't we?
We are literally sweating.
But we've gone from just like doing angry fan cams to all of a sudden Dean Ashton's like wanting to jump on the channel. So it's pretty cool.
Right, I'm excited because also obviously I do keep an eye on Norwich. Naturally, but this will give me a great opportunity to really
get stuck into the Norwich City world. Yeah, exactly.
Might have to pull in a few contacts just for some.
Inside
hello.
Well. There could be
if I can.
And look, if you do a good job, Dean, we might treat you to a few. What do you drink? Turbo Shandies at the end of the season.
Yeah, the old Turbo Shandies.
Put in a really good shift.
Yeah, who remembers that from the first Dean Ashton podcast?
Right, one final question from Twitter. Jack Gunn asks, Dino, is this the best Norwich kit we've ever had?
Oh wow!
There's been such a good reaction to the home and now the away kit as well, which is quite pleasant.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, really?
I would love to have played in that shirt.
Oh.
It's got like the modern look in terms of the shape.
Yeah.
But it's got that retro feel that everyone is going to love. I mean, the fact that I saw so much interaction on like social media from just other football clubs.
Yeah.
I went, hang on a minute.
That's class. Yeah.
Kit of the season's already won type of thing, I think says a lot.
I was really
how
intrigued.
What a kit.
I saw a picture.
Although you have got that on, which...
Well, that's just because I've worn the new shirt so much that it's in the wash again.
Out.
Yeah.
Darren Huckabee, I saw on Twitter, bought the new Norwich shirt and wore it. Would you ever don a West Ham kit or a Norwich kit?
I reckon
I found it strange that a former player is now wearing a football kit. I just couldn't quite wrap my head around it. But I like the idea.
But that's because he can get it really tight.
Yeah, he's in shape.
Yeah, like most of us dad bods don't really want to put the skin tight shirt on, do they?
I know
Jack?
the feeling.
No To be fair,
you're sacked.
Done. Loan terminated. Dino actually played. I'll tell you a cracking kit from when you played. The Lotus away shirt with like the grass cuttings down it. Do you know the one I'm talking about? The dark green and the light green. That was gorgeous, wasn't it?
Good kit.
That was a good kit, solid kit.
No, I'm not talking to Dean anymore.
I love that. What a way to end things. What a podcast.
That was great.
First of the season. Dean Ashton's joining the team. Let us know in the comment section how you're feeling about the new season. How you think Dean Ashton performed in his first appearance with the TNC team, and
I'll end it on one thing.
Go on.
Oh. Dean Ashton, are Norwich City getting promoted? Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh!
Great to see you, Dean. Top man. Good to see you, mate.
Thanks, fellas.